Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome, one, welcome all. If you're a returning viewer, listener, subscriber, welcome back, welcome back. If you're new to this channel, welcome, welcome. Voices in Education is a safe space where we share and learn from each other. We do that in a respectful way to ensure that we're maintaining our safe community, our safe space where you feel valued and where you feel a sense of belonging. On that note, let me know if you're hearing me loud and clear in the chat. All right, so I'm just checking in there. Welcome, one, welcome all. Just let me know if you're hearing me loud and clear in the chat. All right, looks like it's going. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Mark, Andrea, I see you there in the chat, and we're going to share, our views. And by no way, does our view speak for everyone. All right. And so our views. So in that context though, I ask that you guys support your view. We can't just say things without having some supporting evidence or something to support our views. We have to be careful too in the context of what we put forward because that is also important. And so again, and that is why we open this space, a respectful space. This is not a political platform. And so we encourage you to be a part of the conversation. And so the big question that has been coming our way is, did Andrew Holness win? So that's pretty much about the question. And so we're here to just, share our views using data and, information from the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Now, if you know something else that we don't know and you don't have the evidence to support that, we'll ask that perhaps you reframe that, especially if you're going to call us, you frame that in a way that we're not defaming anyone because that's a thing, and we definitely need to understand that. So welcome, 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 and after all, we're gonna get down into it. Avi, welcome. I'm not sure if you're here yet and ready for us, but welcome. All right, so I'm not hearing from Ovi, but in a little bit, Ovi will definitely join us on this live conversation. And as always, we want to hear from you. So I'll be in the chat in a little bit, guys. So just stay with us until, Ovi joins us. But again, welcome one, welcome all. Please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and let us just continue to grow stronger together. All right. So again, we're here to provide you with the information, and you decide, in the context of your view and what you're supporting. But we're definitely going to share some variety of context with you so that you can definitely, make an informed decision. All right, we're not here to persuade you, but we're just here to show you, just some different context and some factors that, you should consider in the context of this question. Again, this question has been coming up and coming to us, and we have decided that we're going to just share some information with you guys again. So if you have been here on this, journey with us to the date of the elections, we have been sharing data in the context of electoral divisions. And so while we did not get all our predictions correct, and we have emphasized throughout this journey that they're just predictions, the realities obviously came on the 3rd of September. And so, in light of that, too, I just want to let you guys know that we're going to come back to you to just match up. And I know the persons who have been here, you would have known the predictions, but we're waiting for the official um, results to be published before we get into that part of it. All right. So that's the situation. That's the situation there. All right. So this evening, or this morning, depending on where you're tuned in from, all right, we're going to talk about, Andrew Holness in the context of, and Paul Buchanan in the context of St. Andrew West Rural. So we're going to go back to some of that data that we shared with you, specifically now in the context of this constituency of St. Andrew West Rural. All right, and so we want to hear from you, and after we have shared, what we need to, we're going to open the phone line. All right. So, again, we just want you to be respectful. We keep it real and respectful. We do not defame anyone. We do not bash anyone. All right. It doesn't matter if you're PNP, JLP, or no P. At the end of the day, we're all Jamaicans. And, that is definitely important in how we operate here so that, different views can be shared. We just ask that you keep it real and respectful. If you're new to this channel, let me know in the chat. Would love to give you a big Voices in Education welcome. So again, welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you guys here with us. And let us just get right into it. But before I do that, I'm just going to make a quick look in the chat. And Ovi, are you ready? Are you here? Just checking in another time. So once you're ready for us, Ovi, just come on in the chat. And
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure. Okay,
here.
fantastic.
Nice to
Hello
meet
and
you.
welcome.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the patience as well. Hello to everyone who's in the chat. We're really happy to have you here again. Just want to encourage you as soon as you come on in, hit the subscription button and help us to continue to grow this platform. Coming back over to you.
All right, fantastic. So I'm seeing Jerome is here in the chat. Pusha is here, and Coach Will is here. All right, so yes, guys, we have enough people to have more than 10 likes. So hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and let's go. So, as promised, we're going to go back to the data. All right, so in the context of this constituency, St. Andrew West Central, there are three electoral divisions. So we have Mullines Gardens, Olympic Gardens, and Seabright Gardens. So based on what we have done in the context of this journey and just looking at the different constituencies, we started from the 2007 general election. So we did 07, then we're going to move on to 11, 16, 2020, and of course, we're going to look at the prelim data for 2025. All right, so now I want you to start, and if you need to get a pen, a pencil, and a piece of paper, or if you need to screenshot what is on the screen, I want you to look at the information carefully that we see on the screen. So when we look here, in 2007, what the data is showing us in the context of these results, right, is that Mullines Gardens, obviously there, had a big win for the PNP. So when you look at that, you can say Mullines Gardens appear, just from this one result, appears to be a big support system for the PNP, unlike the JLP. Look at the total there, 3,219 votes compared to 1,496. No, that's a big deal in the context of an electoral division, right? Again, you're looking at 3,219 compared to 1,496. That's a difference of over 1,700 votes, so about 1,723 votes. That's the difference there. All right. So write that down. Now we shift and we go over to Olympic Gardens. When we look at Olympic Gardens, we recognize that the PNP is some distance behind in the context of the JLP. So we look here, we see 2,981 votes compared to 1,412 votes. All right, for the PNP, that's over 1,500. So that's a big deal in the context of. So if we're looking at that 17 over 1,700, right, that the PNP got in Moline's Garden, right? We are now looking at 1,500. So if we just use the round off to the well, this would be 1,600, but let's just go because this is like a difference of 1,569. So if we're going to the nearest hundred, all right, this is about 1,600. They had about 1,700, right? And so when we look at that, that's just like 100 difference, right? So the PNP, let's say they have a plus 100 difference lead now when we go to these two electoral divisions. So that's Moulins and Olympic Gardens. Now we shift over to Seavright Gardens. And in the context of this one, we see 2,456 for the JLP, and we see 1,244 for the PNP, right? So now this is a difference of 1,212. So if the PNP was plus 100 ahead, now with the JLP getting 1,212, if we keep this to the nearest 100, 1,200, we minus that 100, it means that the JLP, they have a plus 1,100. We're rounding it off. Lead. So that's the win. So what we're trying to establish here in the context of what we're seeing from 2007 is that Mullines Gardens, where the PNP, based on the result, they have a strong base, a strong support system, combined with the other two divisions, as you can see here, if we want to round this off to about 5,900 votes, is not enough when you look at Olympic and Seavright Gardens in the context of Mullines Gardens. So we look here, 5,900 round off for the PNP and 6,900 for the JLP. So you're seeing, right? You're seeing here about 1,000 in the difference, all right, of the votes. And it's going to perhaps be a little bit more, but because we're rounding off, just for us to get a picture. So even though, let's say a result, an election in the 2007 election, the boxes from Malines are coming in, you can see why the PMP is going to be in the lead, right? Because if that's where the data is coming from first, one would expect that, that's going to be the situation. So if we see Mullines coming in and the lead is going to continue until we get all those other results from Olympic Gardens and Seavright Gardens, because that's where now the JLP has their strongest base. All right. And so that is important. So that was just 2007. So we're going to look at, I want you now to take note of the trend. So this was just 2007. So let's go to the next one. The next election was 2011. Now, when you look at 2011, and if we want to just quickly go back to 2007, what we notice in 2011 is that Mullines Gardens again stands out, right, for the PNP. And this time they got even more votes there. And so when you look at this, you can say, oh, you can kind of agree that, these two divisions, Olympic Gardens, Seavright Gardens, they're more aligned with the JLP. But for sure, Molines Gardens, that's where the JLP can never win that division based on the data that we're seeing. So we can start to put two and two together, right? So that is, what we're seeing here. So 3774 compared to 1951. All right, so that's 1,800. If we want to round that off, it's 1,823, but we're rounding off to the nearest 100. So 1,800 difference there. That's the gap that PNP is leading the JLP within that division. Again, one can understand if the results are coming from that division first, we will understand why the PNP will be in the lead. Now, when we go to Olympic Gardens, so obviously I hope you're just taking note here. So 1,800 there. When we go to Olympic Gardens, right, for the 2011 results, we see 3,289. And if we go back here, that's an increase from 2007. All right, so we look here, so we see 3,289 for the JLP, and we see 1649 for the PNP. No, this is about 1,640 votes. And if we round it off, 1,600. So we had 1,800 there difference in Malines. Now 1,600. So it means now if we're looking at that, the PNP, if we're looking at Malines and Olympic Gardens, they're leading by plus 200 votes. All right. So again, that is important. So the JLP would be behind with minus 200 votes. When we up over to Seabright, we see 2,559 for the JLP, and we see 1,337 for the PNP. So that's about 1,222 difference there, all right, in Seabright Gardens between the two parties. So with that 1,200, because we're going to round off, and remember the difference, the plus 200, that's what the PNP was leading by. So if we're supposed to minus that 200 from what now the JLP has in this context, 1,222, or 1,200 rounded off, we're left with 1,000. So we can understand that the win for the JLP there is going to be significant. And one can understand in this context of how the results are coming in. I'm not sure, I don't remember how this unfolded. But if, for example, the PNP was in the lead, one can understand that in the context of, let's say the results were coming from Malines Gardens first before we started to hear about, Olympic Gardens or Seabright. And over time, it's going to get closer with Olympic Gardens coming in. But Seabright, let's say that's where the last set of boxes are coming in. That is where the big difference is going to be seen. Because if we look at Olympic Gardens and Malines, we're going to see a difference of about 200 votes when we're doing the rounding off. But if we're supposed to include Seabright Gardens, this is where we're going to see the difference, the gap in the context of the two parties. Ovi, I'm going to up over to you. Do you have any contributions for those two elections so far?
Well, I'm in agreement with you in terms of, the JLP has two divisions that they're really strong in, and TNT has one. So pretty much what happens is Mullins Gardens and Olympic Gardens tend to cancel out themselves almost, and then you could say that Steve Wright Gardens determines the election, and that's a JLP stronghold. So it's pretty clear based on the numbers and the calculation that you put forward.
All right, fantastic. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Voices in Education. This is a safe space where we share and learn from each other. We kindly ask you to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button. We are not a political platform. We just share information, and we have community members who have been reaching out regarding this question. So we're just here to answer the question, but of course, we are not this kind of space where we run with rate, te. We're going to share information and then you use that information, to inform your view, your decision. That's up to you. We're not forcing things on people, but we're just going to share the data that we have to support things. All right. So we're not in the practice of defaming anyone or disrespecting anyone. That's not something that is aligned with our platform. We just keep it real and respectful. All right, so let's move on to 2016. And guys, when we look at 2016, it's the same story. All right, so Malines Gardens, obviously, we can say we see a trend now where Malines Gardens, the JLP, you could almost say will never win that. It will take them some time, right? So Malines Gardens, we can say, based on the data that we have supporting our claims here, that is a strong PNP area. All right, it's a support system for the PNP. And while the JLP, they will increase their number in Malines Garden because we look in 2011, we see 1951, we see now 2137 for the JLP. All right, so that is an improvement, but Malines still remains true so far to the PNP. So we look here at 3682 votes for the PNP, and as mentioned just now, 2137 for the JLP. So that's a difference of about 1,545 votes. So we're rounding things, so we say 1,500 difference there. Now, when we go over to Olympic Gardens, all right, so we have 1,500 there in the context of the lead. We see 3,698, so 3,698 votes for the Jamaica Labour Party and 1,475 votes for the People's National Party. No, this looks to me to be a difference of 2,223 votes, right? So if we're rounding off, this is 2,200, right? And remember, the gap in Malines was 1,500 in favor of the PNP. Now, when we come to this, where we round in Olympic Gardens to 2,200. And if we're to subtract 1,500, it means now that the JLP, they're up plus 700, right? Just with those two divisions. So that alone tells you that if we're going to go to Seabright, and Seabright is another strong division for the JLP, it's highly likely that the JLP is going to win the election. It's not like we have one of these electoral divisions that are swinging. Based on the data that we see, we now know that Malines is definitely for the PNP based on the data, and Olympic Gardens, Seabright Gardens aligned with the JLP. Those are, the divisions, the support systems for the JLP. So with that 700 plus, right? So the JLP is leading by that 700 plus. We go now to Seabright. We see 2,728 for Seabright. And then we see 1,342 for the PNP. That's the difference of 1,386 and rounding that up to 1,400. And so remember now, that would be 1,400 plus the 700 that the JLP was leading with. All right, so they came over with a plus 700. So that's like a difference of 2,100 votes. right? And so that is definitely important. So if we look here, we see 8,563, 6,499. So that's like 6,500 and 8,500. All right. So that's a lot in the context of, the difference. So about 2,000 votes here being the difference, a big gap between the two. And what we recognize from 2007 to 2016, where we're at right now in the context of this data and just trying to answer that question, is that again, the JLP, they have strong support in Olympic and Seabright Gardens. The PNP, they have strong support in Molynes Gardens, right? And so, if again results are coming in and we're getting those results from the Molynes Gardens area, one can understand that the PNP at the beginning of those results coming in will definitely be in the lead until we get to the other electoral divisions, Olympic Gardens, Seabright Gardens. So once if they're doing it in that order, because I don't know which order the results, come in. So I am just saying hypothetically here, if they should do it in that order, Malines is going to come, obviously with the PNP leading. When it gets to Olympic Gardens, it's going to become closer until you start to see that gap where the JLP is going to pull away from the PNP in the context of the vote. And especially when they get into Seabright Gardens, you will see that big gap in that context. All right. So just to let you know that. So yes, and Ovi, any updates on this one before we move to 2020?
Nothing really. It's pretty much the same or similar in terms of how the voters turn out for each division and the parties that they support. So the narrative is true since 2007 rather, up to 2016.
All right, fantastic. You kind of cut out there in the latter part there, but I think I got the gist of what you're saying. So guys, if you have not yet hit the like button in the chat, please, what are you waiting for? Hit the like button and let's continue to, be a part of this conversation because again, what we share here is the data. And I understand, guys, this knowledge is power and it's indeed true. If we don't understand, it's not it's with and that is why we come here to share so that you can get a better understanding of the electoral system, the constituencies, how they work. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, over this PMP area or JLP area, this is what they are using to, say that sometimes because they understand that these divisions, perhaps have more support for one party over the other. And so when we share this with you, it's not for you to it's for you to get a better understanding of the process, right? That is definitely important because some people you hear talking and stirring up things, they don't even know what happens and know about these things. And so that is why we're here as voices in education just to share and learn from each other. We don't know everything either. We listen to you guys and we learn from you, but some people they don't understand this side. So now that they see something going and they're like, oh, this must be wrong, something not right. Yes, sir. But guys, if you understand the system, then you are better able to understand how certain things, unfold. So we move to 2020. And as you can see with 2020, Molynes Gardens again, a strong support system for the PNP, albeit the fact that the voter turnout was, I guess, on the lower side, and I guess one can understand that in the context of 2020. So we see 2312 for the PNP, and we see 1691 here for the JLP. All right, so this looks like about a difference of 621 votes. So round that off, 600 votes. So the PNP, if we're looking that the results are coming from Malines Gardens first, the PNP, they're leading by 600 votes. Now, if we go over to Olympic Gardens, we see 3218 for the JLP, and we see 915, so 915 for the PNP. No, this is a difference of 2,303 votes. So if we know, right, in Malines, right, the PNP, they were up with 600 votes. So now it means that the JLP, they're leading with 1,703 votes. When we look at Seabright, the PNP only, right? So we can say 1,700, round that off. They were only able to get 698, round that up to 700. So it means here that in Seabright alone, the JLP, they led significantly. So if we're supposed to look at that difference, the PNP would have been obviously far behind when we look at Olympic Gardens and Seabright Gardens. So 2260, and that was 698, a difference of 1,562. And remember that the difference in Olympic Gardens was 1,007. So the PNP pretty much, the lost really from Olympic Gardens, where the JLP pull ahead. If we're looking at that, context to say results came in from Malines, then Olympic, then Seabright Gardens. So again, we see here that Malines, you could probably say now from the data that we have seen so far that it doesn't matter what, Malines is still going to come out on top for the PNP. But Olympic Gardens, Seabright Gardens, definitely JLP. That's what 2020 showed us there. All right. So now to 2025, we don't have the breakdown based on the electoral division. So let me just point that out. But this is the prelim results. So what we saw, the other night. And why this question came about, based on my understanding and what people have been, reaching out and sharing, is that, Mr. Buchanan was in the lead, and then all of a sudden, the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, Mr. Andrew Holness, the MP elect for this constituency, just came out of nowhere. So they must thief, they must this, they must that. And I'm like, hold on. We're talking about the same constituency where Malines Gardens is really that strong piece for the PNP, right? That strong support system. So, based on the data that I've shared, it's reasonable to say, right, that if the results are coming in from Malines, which is likely the case based on how the results came in and unfolded with the PNP leading, based on what we see, it's likely, highly likely, because I don't see the reality yet, so I cannot speak to it. So I'm going to use these suggestive terms. It is highly likely that what we saw first in the context of the prelim results for 2025 regarding St. Andrew West Central, those results are highly likely to be, or they were coming from, that Malines Gardens area. And then as soon as they went into Olympic and segued into, Seabright, obviously you're going to get a gap, as I showed you within the context of the data. So within that context, one can reasonably say, and it is fair to say, that the JLP is highly likely to win the election given the data that we have seen so far. Look at what we have on screen now, 4,953, right? That's the total there. And if you look at the last election, it was, I guess less. And people are going to say it was COVID. But we showed you from 2007 in the context of how that the voting trends in that constituency, the PNP, they have always won that one division, their support system, their base, Mullines Gardens. The JLP has done significantly well in the other two electoral divisions that pretty much, cancel whatever gains the PNP had made in that Mullines Gardens division. So, in that context, I do not question the results. And guys, if we question the results in this way, then it means that we have to question everything else. Why this one seat? How is it then, we're going to look to say, you know, Tova, and we can look at Rhoda and some other people are able to win, but the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, not saying that is unlikely, because we have seen that in Canada recently. And if you guys are student to the politics, you will understand where, Pierre Polyev did not retain a seat, and then they had to have a by-election. But we have seen that, not saying that it's unlikely, but what we have seen here in the context of the results and the prelim results, we can say from our perspective, supported by the data, that it's okay for us in that context. We don't see anything strange in that. And guys, we have to trust our systems that we have in place. And also in that context too, I have not heard anything from the leadership hierarchy of the PNP where they have questions specifically. I haven't heard it. Ovi, I'm not sure if you have, and people in the chat, if you have, just direct us to that. I haven't heard it. And guys, remember, within these counts, you have representatives from both sides. So it's highly unlikely. So we need to just be more careful in the context of how we share, and just in the context of just every other thing. So this is just our perspective, and we want to hear from you, but we ask, guys, if you're going to call and say yes, don't, because we don't have any money to pay any lawyers. We just keep it real and respectful, right? So if you feel as if you're going to be towing that line, it's better for you to share in the chat, and we'll pick out what we can share here. But we want to keep it that way, where it is very, much real and respectful. So that's the information that we wanted to share in the context of all that has happened. Ovi, I'm going to come over to you while I try to put that WhatsApp number in the chat. All right, not hearing from Ovi, so we're going to just move on. And I see I'm getting a call, so I'm going to take this call in a little bit. And okay, let me just try and get that number in the chat there for you guys. And then let me just pin that number in the chat. And let me just take this call quickly. Hello, caller, you're live. Welcome. Just hold a moment. I'm not hearing you coming in this system. Just give me a moment. Let me just call you right back so you can come through this system.
Good night.
Good night. Welcome, Mr. Anova.
Yes, blessing and thank you for the breakdown and thank you for the wonderful job you have been doing. Observing all protocols, I would say that you see, when people lack the information and then they are filtered by the person who is supposed to be responsible, then that will trigger off a lot of nonsensical reasoning. Um, if you understand politics, it is. I am from Western Hanover. If Riverside and Lucy Division sends in their boxes early, and the JLPE is winning by like 400, we as the person on the ground automatically starts to believe that we have lost the election bid, because the consistent trend for a Cardwell division is to win by 15 to 2,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So if Cardwell comes in first and the Jamaica Labour Party does very well in that division, say Cardwell just win by 1,000, then we are of the strong feeling that we will win the election, because when Riverside versus the Lucy division comes in, both of them add up will give us maybe like a 1,800 lead. So we have a strong feeling. Now, what is based on the numbers in this the Prime Minister constituency, we have not seen a significant change based on the data that you just provided. So the losing candidate said that there was not the amount of votes that came in from those constituency is more than the registered voters, and that is not true.
And look on if you look on the screen now, you see 32,715 people are registered to vote. So
that's what I was going to. If he cannot provide a data sheet based on the spread of people, because let me tell you one thing you have to consider: at least 5,000 people who are registered to vote, I'm just, in my opinion, is not living in the constituency. And they may have drove in, some of them may have flown in from abroad to come and vote. How is he going to take that into context?
Yeah, and
did he request a data sheet from EOJ to say that, hey, EOJ provided a breakdown saying, hey, in Seavright Gardens and what's in that?
Olympic Gardens. Mm-hmm.
Said that it's only 2,500 people are registered for these two. Then he could have an argument. But for him to make a broad, and that is what is fuel, these are some irresponsible statements that is unfair. And I mean, this is something that we have struggled with in our politics. Instead of helping a nation to grow beyond a mindset of being rather low IQ, we are just using for our self-gratification and personal gain to create mischief, because these are not things that are needed. If you lose, you just lose. You know, if he cannot pull 4,000 to 5,000 out of Majestic Gardens, he does not have a shot of winning the seat. And he has never pulled 4,000 or 5,000 out of Majestic Gardens, which is his stronghold. And the Jamaica Labour Party candidate, which is the Prime Minister, has consistently pulled more than 2,000 foot out of Majestic, out of
Mullines
and Seavright Gardens. And the Jamaica Labour Party is actually eating into the numbers into Majestic Gardens. So that is something you must look at too.
Yeah, into Mullines.
He used to win by 1,600. If you check it out, sometimes it comes down to 1,500. Sometimes it's a back. He is not able to clear 3,000 Majestic Gardens.
Well,
how is he gonna be?
He's just in there now. So, well, the PNP over time.
I'm saying he's not able to beat the Prime Minister in Majestic Garden by 3,000 more.
Oh, in Mullines. In Mullines,
right. So if he's not beating the Prime Minister by 3,000 and more in Majestic Gardens, he's definitely not going to be able to overturn the combined 3,000 that is coming out of Seaview,
Seawright and Olympic.
That is something. As you said, you have not heard anything from the leadership. The leadership knows it is just a strategy because, let me say something, it's just a strategy to keep the persons believing that the Prime Minister's integrity must be attacked. So, oh yes, this is what they're going to use it. He has to rob to win his seat. And that is, you're beating on something which you cannot factualize. And you're just running on propaganda and lies. But I want to thank you again. I've taken enough time, and thank you for allowing me my contribution. But he just have to move on. That's just natural it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Anova. And I have a call here that I'm going to return. So again, guys, once there are new updates, we'll be the first one to come here and share those updates with you because we believe in knowledge is power. And that is definitely important. Let me just return this call. Hello, caller. You're live on Voices in Education. Welcome.
Welcome, my dear. You see, I listen to your analysis and let me explain something to you. Work in this election, right?
Okay.
First, let me declare that I'm a supporter of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Okay.
I work as a cluster manager.
Okay.
And I can call the constituency that I work in.
No, keep that to yourself. It's okay.
All right. The constituency that I work in, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is one division also in the constituency that I work in as the cluster manager that the Jamaica Labour Party has never won. Never. And my list we have 2,000, I don't remember, about 2,023 people that could vote. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So when I went up there, I was hoping for a low voter turnout because I know that's area that's the PNP dominate. Okay. When I check because remember, I know each party have their outdoor
and indoor.
Their indoor.
Yeah.
So the outdoor would tick all the people that vote. So everybody know how many people vote in each division, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they go in again, the indoor worker for the PNP and the JLP will also tick all the people and their list because remember they have a list, you know.
Yes,
that must match back with the list there.
Yes.
So they will tick. So when you go in, so what most party do, right? Paul Buchanan know him lose a long time. What most party do, they leave a list. They ask their indoor agent to write on a piece of paper. Between 10 to 12, because say 100 people vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who they vote for now.
But the likely, you know your people.
Yeah, but you say
mm-hmm.
50 years are likely to vote for the JLP,
right?
30 for the PNP,
mm-hmm.
and 20, I am not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are the cluster officer going there, maybe 3 hours now you collect that, you would say, oh, look like we're good. So you know, maybe 110 out of the unsure, and 150 will come on your side.
Mm-hmm.
And you check right through the day.
And you use that and you know how to work a number. You know, say, boy, perhaps with the behind, or we need to get some more people on the grounds. All right, who are the people? If we get the people, if we come vote, you know how to work a number. Go ahead, Carl.
When they were calling me from my central place now and say, oh, you stay up there, Sammy, I said, I say, yes, make we keep it that way. But I stand up at the gate when I realized that it's only exactly, I think it was a little bit over 500 people came out to vote in that way. I say, yeah, I stand up at the gate 10 minutes of 5 and I was joking and I was saying, time soon coming up because at 10 minutes of 5 now. And when I look, I see the number jingling on, so I know that we're in good sense. In that constituency also, when the first set of vote come out, I heard my candidate was 60, because we only get 60 votes in that. And the next party get 400 and add. And people like celebrating. I would say, oh, no, man, that are the ex division. We know about that. My candidate still happened to win by over 1,000 votes. I did in contact because I didn't get in any call from there, and I blame a certain station. I believe a certain station fluid this argument, and I want to tell you why. You see, and I can tell you because I was getting information because I was working closely. Understand? Because at one stage I was a bit worried because if you remember that information, they didn't declare that was actually the last seat declared,
Yeah, it came in late for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the one in Northern Clarendon.
I was on the ground with people who were at the counting plate, and they were saying, "Don't worry yourself. They lose and them lose badly." Because even when the Mullines division come in, they were just leading marginally. So that was a marginal lead that they were having, the 200, the 100 and other 200, which they didn't need at least to be leading by at least 3,000 in order to be competitive based on when the civil rights and the Olympic Guard will come in. Yeah. So really, and I don't know why it was just delayed, the board stuck, and they were just having people like it's a show in suspense. So I didn't know because I get the numbers from all the rest of box and know say Andrew won his seat easy. And people were calling me left, right, and center. But I wonder if it was just a plight. Because let me tell you something. There's a force that is working against Andrew Holness. There's a dark force in Jamaica. Because, let me tell you something, the Jamaica Labour Party will be losing for a long time. Because there's a new garrison, and that's a garrison in a good light now, that the JLP has created that the PNP won't be able to stop. And I'm going to explain what is that garrison to you. The garrison is the young people. 85% of the young people vote for the Jamaica Labour Party. The working class people them, and what we call the society people came out for the Jamaica Labour Party. The seats that the PNP was open to flip. The working class, the youth, the society people came out. The Delray truck, the people in Cherrygan, the people in Jackshill, the people in Narborough came out for Delray trucks. In Fairwell Williams constituency, the people up in the hills there, they came out. These were the seats when they were polling these seats. They polled mostly in inner city area. So that's why the numbers was coming up and it was looking like the PNP could have flipped these seats. But the people who are not looking for bread and fish came out heavily. And it's the same thing happened in Mandeville, in central Manchester, because the PNP dropped some every money down there, but it couldn't help them because the upper class people came out and the PNP don't have no answer for this because this is not a garrison that you can bribe. This is not a garrison that you can turn over. The PNP need to protect themselves. They have lost the election and they have to just hug up them beaten. They have lose a seat because the Jamaica Labour Party has put an MP in there that going around. Central Kingston is the strongest PNP seat, is the seat of Michael Manley, Norman Manley. Why they cannot retain that seat? Because they ignore the people and trick the people all here, and we put in a Donovan Williams who go there and work. And people realize that MP really can work. The same thing Rhoda do. The same thing Rhoda do.
Get your caller, get your thanks for calling and sharing. Really appreciate those points. And thanks for keeping it real and respectful. I appreciate that part too.
Yeah.
All right, blessings. Yes, guys, welcome if you're just tuning in. If you have not hit the like button, come on, we're almost 400 strong. Hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and let us just continue to grow stronger together. I'm just looking in the chat and I'm just going to try and welcome some people in the chat. Marie's Clubhouse, welcome. All right, Lorna, welcome. Coach Will, welcome. Neville, welcome. Davian, welcome. The Ordinary Talk Show, welcome. Urban, welcome. The Sigma Effect, welcome. And let me see who I'm missing. Dave Spencer, welcome. Seymour, welcome. And Truth, welcome. Kevin, welcome. Latoya, welcome. Charmaine, welcome. And I'm going to see if I can go to some of these comments now that perhaps I've missed. And we're getting another call. So let's just take this caller. Hello, caller, you're live.
Good night, guys. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for calling.
I'm good. What's the topic tonight? Because I'm just checking in.
Oh, we're talking about Andrew Holness and Paul Buchanan, that constituency, and the question is, did Andrew Holness win his seat?
Okay. When I was watching the results show on one of those stations, I heard one of the hosts saying that um like for all of the elections, Andrew was always behind. So I guess they always count the Olympic Gardens last.
Mullines first.
So it's not the first time the last couple of election he was always behind. So we don't know why people are make this hullabaloo now. If that is really true. So we could expect Andrew to lose them seats. I don't know Mr. Buchanan talk about him delusional. Straight talk.
All right, caller. Thanks for calling and
Yeah, man,
sharing.
cool.
All right.
Alright.
Yes, guys, thanks for calling. So I am just going I was at a comment here. So Sigma, you're definitely welcome, and we're getting another caller. Hello, caller, you're live. Welcome. Perhaps this one did not come through. All right. So thank you for informing the viewers instead of spreading misinformation to gain views. We are not about that. Hello, caller, you're live. Welcome.
Yes, good night. Good night to all your viewers as well. I want to start by saying that I'm a comrade who lives and works in the constituency of West Central St. Andrew. But not the caller before, but the one that was speaking before that. He was spot on, and because we're supporting different parties doesn't mean that we can't speak the truth. In order for the PNP to win this constituency, Mullines would have needed to score at least 5,000 votes. And that did not happen. There's no discrepancy. I saw the writing on the wall from about 12 o'clock to say that nowhere near the votes that was needed to take the seat was not required. So for me, it's really much ado about nothing. It's a smoke screen, it is a distraction, and there's really nothing that's going to come of it.
Okay. And tell them again, say your blood and fire, comrade. If they miss
I
that
am a
part.
blood and fire comrade. I live in the constituency.
Okay.
So what happened in terms of the station, though, I think there was the last set of box that came in, and it came in very late. So the station that it was showing on live TV, there was no plan by the station. What happened was that there was a delayed voting in that particular section of the Olympic Gardens division, and where the persons vote from the Seaward Primary and All School, this polling cluster votes overwhelmingly for the Prime Minister, for the JLP. So when these votes came in last, anybody who knows of West Central St. Andrew and know the voting pattern would know that 90% of the vote is going to go for the Prime Minister, and a small amount is going to go for the PNP. That's how it is, and that's how it always been. So there is nothing wrong with the election. Paul Buchanan really did lose. If it is that you're going to get less than what Patrick Roberts would normally get in Mullines, it means that you are going to lose the constituency.
That's true.
So to me, it's much ado about nothing. It's a waste of time, and I don't really pay much attention to it, honestly.
Thank you, Carla. I appreciate it. And that's why, guys, we have this platform. And I tell you, we're not political. We hear from both sides. And if we are able to be true to ourselves and just understand that a win is a win. And if we're going to discredit this one from the ECJ, why not discredit every other seat that the PNP win? You know, we could do that, but we don't need to do that. Just do the right thing and just share the information. And let's just continue to be Jamaica land we love, you know, that is definitely important. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the call.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. And we're getting another caller here. Hello, caller, you're live. Could you mute your YouTube?
How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. Thank you for calling. Can you mute your YouTube feed, please?
If I am?
Can you mute your YouTube feed?
Yes, I have. I have mute.
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm still getting a feedback.
Yes. All right. Yeah, man, I have muted it. Yeah, man, I was just calling to say that my second time calling you. I spoke to you on the election night.
Oh.
Very interesting to see what you're doing here. So because a lot of times the information that is shared, out there in the public is misinformation. And so with that, people come to their own conclusion and run with it. Because I'm not from that part of Jamaica. But it is just obvious within every constituency there are pockets, there are different pockets of supporters, different places. So say for example, as the gentleman just pointed out, the Mullines Road, we know that the boxes that are coming from there are going to favor the PNP candidate, and there are other areas in the same constituency. When those boxes start coming, they are going to be mostly GLP votes. So when that happens, if the Mullines one comes in first, then you will definitely see the PNP candidate having a lead. But then when the GLP box starts coming in, then you will see that number just change rapidly. It's just obvious. But for me, what I'm realizing is that the target of the attack is the leader. And if you notice from the get-go, 4 years ago, and it intensified as the election drew nearer. And that is just it. So any little thing, they're going to nitpick anything because, their objective and their agenda is to get the leader out. And if we get out the leader, then everything else, we have a better chance. And just on a side note, when I hear somebody who this country look up to and say that they're a journalist and making certain statements, then for me, the whole journalism ethic gone through the door and they become activists. Because, for example, Miss Jackson Miller is going to say that the PNP, the Prime Minister, need to resign. I can't recall the
Yeah.
I can't recall the PNP I can't recall the PM at any time during the campaign or before the campaign that I can recall saying that when he win the third term, he's going to resign. So what's
Well, I guess you know what, Carla. Some people are entitled. I guess people are entitled to share their views. But I get what you're saying. You see, when your role is really conflicting sometimes with the views that you share, you have to be careful. And so sometimes when we say to people that I'm just echoing, I'm getting a feedback though.
I don't think it's
Somebody near you watching.
using a headphone. No, man, I'm using a headphone and I don't have anything else on.
Okay, let's try. So sometimes, in that context, we just have to be careful with what we're sharing as our views and I guess the objective aspect of it, because that part too is definitely important. And so here we try to keep away from the noise and we give people the information for you to make an informed decision. We're not going to say this and we're not going to say that. When we're speculating or asking questions, we're going to let you know that we're asking questions, and even so, when we have data, we still give you the data and say, look at this information and use this if you'd like to inform your decision or your views. But we show you what is there, and if we have a full picture, we're not going to share with you just half of the picture. We're going to share with you the entire picture.
And that's honesty and integrity in terms of disseminating information. Because at the end of the day, your viewers, those who participate on your platform must be, when they leave, they must leave factually informed.
Yes, and that's what we that's one of the things that we do here. We're not here, sometimes you see some headlines. We're not here to spread misinformation for views, guys. We just keep it real and respectful, and we learn from you too. It's not just us sharing. Sometimes we'll come to you and we say, "Listen, we have this, but let us know what you think." And we
Yeah,
want
man.
to hear because we don't know everything, and that's the understanding, and we're open to learning.
Exactly. And just in closing, I'll say to all of us who are who share in the Prime Minister's vision for Jamaica, get ready, because we were spared the effect of hurricane reckless risers, but the turbulence are going to be coming. So we know that the agenda is to attack the leader. Be prepared to be supportive of the Prime Minister of this country. Don't just run with the innuendos or rumors. Here is a platform that will allow you some facts. Use platforms like these so that you can be informed and be intelligent about the approach you take. Because I mean, there's a lot of educated people, but there's few very intelligent people. So just stick to places where you're getting facts and that you can make informed decisions. Thank you for allowing me on your platform, and continue the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Blessings and love. All right. So, yes, guys, we don't do it for the views. And again, we share from both sides. So, if at any point we come with information, we're going to make sure that sometimes you'll see things going on, people like voices, and we just wait. We just wait because we don't want to be out there, sharing something that we are not able to stand by when everything just ash out, and so that is that. I'm just looking in the chat. Kevin, the number is at the top of the chat, the WhatsApp number. All right. And you're welcome, Urban 2011. All right. And then Chrissy there is asking for 2020. All right, let's go to 2011 results on screen there, and then I'll go to 2020. All right, so that's the context. So, guys, if you're here and you have not yet hit the like button, what are you waiting for? We're on a Ray and Tete place, all right? We keep it real and respectful because, as I always shared with you guys, if Mr. Mark Golding, prior to the election, won, is going to be our prime minister, and that's just what the democratic process would have resulted in. And so we just need to ensure that whatever we're doing, we don't spread these things, because guys, we have people from foreign, I ask you, I really them a sit near go on Jamaica. It's not a good look. And so we have to be responsible, and while we may not get the result that perhaps we wanted for respective party our respective candidate, just understand that it's a part of the process. And if we're respecting the process, then we just make sure that, what we're doing it in a way that, is not going to make us look bad. Because people are going to look on it. You can imagine you go a foreign and people say everybody at Jamaica a thief. So, those things, we just have to be careful. We just have to be careful with what we say, what we do. And 2020 results are on screen there. And mystical vibrations, welcome. And I think I asked that question too. I guess we could say the same thing about the entire election, and all that. Let me just take this caller. Hello, caller, you're live. Welcome.
Hello, good night. This is Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, you are welcomed. I like the chat so far, and I just want to say that when I look at the three terms of the PNP in the 1990s versus the two terms on the start of the third term, by the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, the PJ Patterson did not have much of an opposition to contend with. The JLP was fractious at that time. And so he won those elections, not little with little or no opposition to contend with. But this prime minister had opposition to deal with in 2016, 2020, and don't mention 2025. He had the opposition to deal with, and he was victorious. And that speaks volumes for who he is and what he stands for.
Totally get that. So I guess he had to go with Portia, then Peter, then Mark Golding, and as you mentioned, this one was definitely obviously challenging given all that was there in the media, in the landscape, the integrity aspect of it, and yeah, I totally get that, and it goes to show to and life lessons that we can all learn from, just in our own space, personal lives. Sometimes things happen to us at work and we know it's not us, or but it's just so hard, and we have to just fight, continue to fight. So resilience, definitely important. Yeah.
So that's just my little piece of the chat tonight, and I look forward to being in the chat another time. And I'll continue tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling and making it voices in education. Thank you so much, Kevin, and big up yourself. Blessings. Yes, guys, give us a call. Give us a call. We would love to hear from you. And, let us just continue to grow stronger together. And, welcome. I think this is Mr. Anova. Will you continue this program? We'll definitely share once there is something, but we're not going to come here to spread any foolishness. So for sure, we'll keep posted. We have some other things that, from our research during that journey to the elections, what we want to share, and we're just going to share generally in the context of both political parties and what they can take away in the context of organization, access to information. Don't let who is putting out the information before the media, because sometimes um the media, let me just put it this way: when I was much younger, I could rely on media for certain things. I feel that that has changed somewhat. I don't know if it's because of social media, where there is this desperate attempt to get certain information out there first, just for viewership, likes, I don't know, streaming, I don't know what. But I feel that, some traditional media, perhaps they need to revisit their role. And when I look sometimes at certain headlines that are coming up as media, and that is something that we do here. We're not media practitioners in any way, shape, or form, but just what we understand and what we say given these elections is that we're not going to come here to tell you to go vote for this party. We listen to all sides, and we tell you, we encourage you to go out there and vote for your candidates of choice. And that is definitely important to us, because as the media, I feel that, and again, we're not really in media, but I know that a lot of persons, look to us for information, and they'll ask us questions similar to this one that we're trying to answer. We're answering right now. Is that, you have a role, and if we're going to come out with a headline to say so and so, it's like you're skewing people in a particular direction based on the headline. And so for you to be open, I mean, if it is facts, it is facts, and it just can't change. But when it's not solid, when it's not concrete, you have to be careful. So similar to how we have the question here, we ask, did Andrew Holness win? The official results are not yet there. And we share and we tell you based on the trends, and we use suggestive terms, it's highly likely, or, those things to let you know that yes, but we still have to wait. So when we see certain things coming out, like from my perspective, and I'm sure of it too, we just question and we look at ourselves, because it's like you are, you know, feeding a particular narrative, and we just have to be careful. We just have to try. And you know, the thing with us, we are all subjective beings, meaning we biases, and that can change. I have my biases. Ovi has his biases. You have your biases. But what we need to do, we need to be in constant dialogue with ourselves to ask us, am I biased because I am such and such, or because I support? What is the truth here? What are my opinions? Why am I leaning to this particular direction and not that? We just have to start be critical and ask ourselves these questions, because it's natural. We all have biases. Think about it, if you have some money, right, and you don't know me from Adams, and you have your relative that need the same money, you're gonna give it to your relative, because you know that person, and you're already aligned with that person. So your intuition, your gut feeling is, boy, I mean, I know this has somebody I know, so what me I gonna give it, but you're not giving the other person the opportunity to prove themselves to you. Let's go to this caller. Hello, caller. Welcome. You're live.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for calling. Really appreciate the call. Talk to us.
Certainly, I wish everyone well. I'm just listening in and enjoying the program, and I'm deeply bothered by the ignorance that members of their their supporters or their sympathizers just spread the level of rhetoric that has been coming forward. I want to start with West Central, St. Andrew, where the current Prime Minister and Member of Parliament has been fighting for and held that seat since 1997. If you remember, when he first became MP, there were 3 elections. There was an election, then a re-election of the election, and then a second re-election against Patrick Roberts and Dr. Warren Blake. Why? Because in certain clusters, Binns Road and those areas, there was an overrun. They voted with those boxes overwhelmingly for the opposition, right? And that's how we had 3 elections before he was able to be declared the winner. Canon to enter this space and to be sowing seeds of discord and misinformation, alluding to the fact that the EOJ, the PNP, and members of the security forces who were tasked with securing those boxes colluded to give the Prime Minister a win is insanity. It's madness. And I wonder if people listen to what they're saying. Like, they used to say, do you believe the word Christopher in Russia would do coming out of your mouth? Have you not thought about what you're about to say before you open your mouth to say things? The level of insanity, and when people are not educated, they're like sponges. They suck up what has been said and then just run with it. Like there's some fact to the madness. And it's sad when I hear someone I regard as a journalist for years.
Don't call any name though. Just talk. Yeah. We'll get
that
it.
I would hear her make a reference and imply that having gotten to the 3rd term, that maybe the Prime Minister-elect should consider stepping away. Why would that be? Did you feel the same about previous Prime Ministers? Did we hear these so-called educated journalists speak to the robocalls that were coming out before the election where people were being called? Did they share concern? Did they echo concern of what people's privacy is being eroded when people's cell phones were obtained and people were being called and tried to sway, don't come, don't vote, don't this, do that. Did these journalists and civil different happening? No, they were silent. So you can't understand because the powers that be, because the Prime Minister and his party could not retain power if the good Lord above did not want it, regardless of what people think, people say, if it's not his will, it could not have happened. So let us put aside sanity. Let us hold true to what the National Pledge of Jamaica asks us to do. Let us think about our national anthem and let us be real. Let us be civil. Let us be decent individuals, one to another, as we continue to exercise democracy. The people have spoken. They were congratulated.
Yeah.
They won, and nobody's fighting them. Nobody not trying to take it from them. You win the seat, you win the seat. Now go do your work because the people have elected you to serve them. But no one can satisfy. You still have to come out and try to poison the minds of the average citizen. I remember when a former prime minister stood up in parliament and dare tell you what politics was about. It was about the fight for scarce benefits and political spoils carried out by hostile tribes perpetually at war against each other. Who's warring against each other in this day and age, 2025?
Yeah,
When you see
we have
people,
gone past that, and I feel that we don't need to go back as an electorate. We don't need to go back into those narratives, We
tribalism.
Yeah, we have gone past that.
Here,
And we need
here,
to
I'm
graduate from that.
give room. I'm gonna give room for someone else. I heard one blogger saying that the MP elect of West Kingston said we're not giving it up so easy. And I had to ask myself the question, this young man must have it under one rock stone and at the bottom of the sea when the leader of the opposition stood on a political platform. I said get wicked upon them because them now go give it up so easy. And I'm saying, brother, you never hear your leader utter similar or more damning sentiments? Are we so one-sided and politically dunce that we choose to ignore rhetoric? Huh? That we choose to ignore when I want to be a candidate caretaker stood on a political platform and talk about who switch have got end up in a ditch. What does that mean? What the heck are you saying from the platform? And it is all rhetoric, a smile. It's in the heat of the moment. It's political stupor. Really? It has consequences. But I'm happy that we came out of September 3rd unscathed by any civil war, any act of violence against each other.
That's good.
That at the end of the night, we could have color and green hug up orange and all little one them purple and something. If you take it as joke because you have to have somebody there to make it laugh. And we just need to move forward, congratulating each other and seeing how we can work to the betterment of our people.
For sure.
Because our national anthem and our national pledge begs us in the service of fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice.
Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate the call.
Listen, love your program. I applaud you. Keep up the good work and stay safe. As Miss Lou said, walk
good. Thank you so much. Blessings and love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So, guys, the phone line is running and I have some calls I'm going to return. So, we'll definitely return your call. So, let me just call this caller here. All right, so we're sending out this call, so hopefully it goes through. But yes, guys, the word is just love. Hello, caller, you're live.
Hi, folks. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm returning your call. Talk to us.
I am great. I am great. So, I've been following you from way before the election, if you know my voice.
I
And
think
I've been
so.
listening to you. This lady that just called, I'm one for conversation. I'm one for discussion. I respect people. I respect the opinions of people. But being in a free country, we also can disagree.
Sure.
So let me start off by saying that my SIM number, you know that my number is overseas number, so I don't live in Jamaica.
That's all right.
But this election
You don't need to say that because we understand too. So if you don't want to share your name and that's why I don't ask, because I understand the nature of the program and safety trumps everything for us. Yeah.
But having said that, this has been one of the probably the most fun election I can remember in history. The campaigning was good.
Mm-hmm.
The vibe was good. The competition was good. It was close. Your program is good, along with others. But this seat now, Mr. Holness is seat in South and St. Andrew, I think.
Mm-hmm. In West.
And in all fairness, Western Andrew, in all fairness, he has a right to ask questions. And let me tell you why. Upon seeing how the votes were presented on television, and upon seeing the result, as a person who contested the seat, and it's where he, as an individual, a candidate, and the party, is in a position to, the constitution and the laws of the country allows him to raise questions. It doesn't mean that people on the street should go about and be tribal, trying to start a war or trying to fight anybody. No, people on the street can have their discussions about it, but in terms of the legal process, and that's where the difference with me and the process come in, the legal processes must be allowed to take its course.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So even if he's questioning it, he has a right to question it if he feels aggrieved or thinks something went wrong. That's a part of the process too.
And that's totally that is totally fine. But is it a case where if you have a freeze, because how we came about this conversation is because people have been reaching out, right? So we come with the data and we're answering along those lines. And so if it's a case where results are coming in and it is frozen, do we take that as some anky panky went on, or do we trust the same system that has shared several more results in the context of the elections that you and the party agree with? Or do we wait? Because the thing is, if it is that there are other processes where they're saying, I don't know, whatever those arguments are, and I really don't want to get into that. But remember how the process, from my understanding and from my observation, just being in that process, is that it's hard to really take an election from a candidate. It's you have the indoor people. So from each political, because I have observed election in Jamaica, you have the people from each side in there that they're checking the names once they come in from both sides, or whichever candidate. You have your people in there. When the count, you have your people. When the official count, you, the candidate, since perhaps the day you may not be, you, the candidate, can be there with your lawyer, whatever. So when it comes to that argument, the ECJ would have to be, I don't know, to really get to that point to really rob someone of an election. If the contention or the issues are about ballots that are being rejected, I can understand that part, because that now can definitely become an issue for candidates where they may not believe that, this ballot should be rejected, or a ballot that might have been accepted, they feel that it should be rejected. So those are the issues I can understand. But the other aspects of it, just from my experience with the system, it's really difficult to understand. Just the counting aspect from my understanding of the system. But if there are other irregularities beyond the counting, that are aligned with the ECJ, those are different questions. But if it is really regarding the counting, just from my little experience, it's hard for one person to say they're going to give this election to this candidate and not the other, because they have their persons who are very close to them, the candidates who are in there, present, physically present. And I'm not even going to talk about the outdoor people. The ones inside, they're close to their candidates, are people where they know and trust, because you're not going to send somebody who you don't have a good relationship with and who you don't trust, because that's a very, very big role. So for me, just from that experience, it's hard. If something like that should happen, then you can expect the actions that are going to follow, the war and the this and the that. But to me, it's hard with the counting, where the issues, based on my little experience, would come is if ballots are being rejected, or the people at the prelim count, and we have to remember too, that's a prelim count and they're going fast, and that is why they do the prelim and they do the recount with the returning officer for the official count. So and then the official count, at that point, the candidates are usually there in person, unless they don't want to go, but they're usually there and they can bring their representatives. And so, at the prelim, it's hard to kind of, based on my little experience, just observing a general elections and seeing firsthand what happens inside and outside. It's difficult to really to say a person there supporting Mr. Buchanan would sit down in that space and allow the JLP, the and whoever counting to rob him. So they will have inside information. And you see this thing about numbers, politics, numbers game on the day. And, we have some results and some seats that people want us to talk about. And the logic, based on my little experience again, is that I am assuming that some of these seats that, either party was expecting to win, they got complacent on the day, because perhaps there was a miscalculating from the indoor to the outdoor. And so they got complacent, believing that they had the number to retain or to win the seat. And then the result is just, in my face. This is not what we're expecting. And so, because sometimes what I've noticed is that when you have people going inside to vote, if I know you, Carla, and I know you very well, and I know that you're supporting my party, I can check you off in my column and say, okay, one over yes for me. Then you will have somebody will come in where we're not too sure about. We put a little question mark. And but at the end of the day, you check off the amount of people that are voting. So each indoor agent, they have the number of people who voted in the election, unless they were lapsing. And what I've seen, I've gone in there and I've seen PNP indoor and JLP indoor. They work together, like they'll say, oh, what was the name of this person? And they both check, and no worries. So sometimes it's just the outside. And as you mentioned that, the candidate might be asking questions and people just take it up, not understanding the process and, just how things work.
Well, I've worked, let me see, 4 elections. I've worked as presiding officer for 2 and polling clerk for 2. So, and plus I've worked local government as well. So I'm quite experienced with the process. What normally happens is that, as you said, you have your 2 agents inside there. They have your little voters list that they check off individuals off. At the end of the day, there's a count. They can tell exactly how much is in the box for each party. But as I said, if you think something went wrong, as a person who contested, he has the right to question it on a basis, not in the streets. Not persons going up and having a rivalry against each other. Not persons trying to fight each other. Those persons should watch, observe, and allow the legal processes to take place. So it's not a tribalistic situation if somebody thinks something went wrong. He has a right to do that. And as I said, our constitution, our legal processes allow for that to take place and for that to sort itself out in the courts if needs be.
Oh,
Next
for
thing I want to
sure.
touch on is that.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I want to touch on that is lady said that a journalist. I know who that is, and you know who that is.
Yeah, with her
She was
color,
not
babe.
saying the man should.
With her color.
She was not saying.
Yeah,
She
go
was not
ahead.
saying the man should step down. She's not saying that. She's saying that she thinks that's what he's going to do. For example, TJ did it in his third term. Manuel did it in his third term. So she's saying, I think at some point during this term, he's going to step down, hand over the baton, and go on. She wasn't telling him to move on. So that's a misconstruction or misrepresentation of what she said.
I get
so
it.
just to clarify that situation, and the lady is not political or tribal, she give her a balanced opinion and things, and we should be able to respect and see other person's view. Whether we agree with it or not, that's another thing, but we must be able to hear other people's view and at least respect and understand what they're saying. So that will be my contribution.
Okay, Carla, thank you so much for sharing. Blessings and love.
All right.
All right. Ovi, you have been quiet on that side. Talk to me quickly. We have got several calls. How are the likes? And I guess I'm going to go into the chat.
Yeah, I'm over here listening because that's an important part of this channel as well. I'm listening, and I want to say thanks to all the callers who called in. I'm learning lots from them, making some good points, and we just want to keep it that way, guys. We are over 200 still. We need to get over 200 likes. If you're here, just hit the like button, hit the subscription button, help us to continue to grow. We appreciate you being here, and this is a positive space that we want you to continue to be a part of. So just make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscription button. Thank you for your comments as well, all the persons who commented. And if there are any new subscribers, let us know so we can give you a warm Voices in Education welcome and let us continue to grow this platform. Coming back over to you.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm looking in the chat here and I'm seeing, I believe this is Mr. Anova. Fact check. That's going to take a lot of work, but we'll keep it in the back of our. Hey, we'll keep it in mind. We'll keep it in mind. That's going to take a lot of work, guys. And as you know, we have to do other things because we want to. We're sharing here. It's all good. So we'll keep that in mind. Budget analysis. Wow. All right, we'll keep those things in mind. All right. Not my area of expertise, but maybe Ovi, but we'll keep those things in mind. Urban is saying you guys doing a good job. I am always watching. Coach Will. Coach Will, I'm trying to figure out that point there regarding the mainstream media. Elements, welcome. And guys, even if you don't appreciate someone's point of view, just keep it real and respectful, right? Because it's the same thing somebody else could have said about me over somewhere else, all right? So we just want to keep it real and respectful, all right? And Kevin, I see your comment there. Winston. Oh, I see that one. Okay, safety trust, everything. All right, Winston. Garmel, welcome. Garmel, welcome. Did I miss any earlier comments, Garmel? I'm just seeing one. Welcome, Garmel. Mats Morgan. Yes, guys, come on, hit the like button, hit the subscription button. Valerie, welcome. And come on, guys, just keep it real, all right? Latoya, welcome. Sigma, thank you. Sigma was saying she said that she thinks he should step down. Okay, thanks for sharing. And Winston there again. We can keep it real and respectful, all right? All right, so I guess at some point we'll have that conversation, and that conversation is going to be very much based on assumptions, which we don't really like to do. But we'll perhaps talk about both leaders and, likely possibilities. We are never going to be definitive or concrete because we don't know. So we may look at that as a topic. And if it's going to cause a lot of issues, then perhaps maybe not. But for sure, we may look at that as likely possibilities for both leaders. I suspect that, we may have the official list of results perhaps tomorrow. And just something that I wanted to share in the context of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica was that, they were pretty much, they had to be there disputing as fake, certain information that, was circulating on social media, claiming to show the number of electors who voted in St. Andrew West Central and the number of spoiled ballots. And they shared that the information is false, all right? And so, guys, we just want to be respectful in whatever it is that we are sharing. There was another update. So I believe the last update that we got, I'm trying to remember how many constituencies were recounted, but it was perhaps about a few, maybe about three to five, but that was remaining. Perhaps about three constituencies that were left based on, my understanding there. And so I am assuming that perhaps tomorrow we should get the official count or the official list of candidates. So again, we will definitely keep you informed in that context because we want to share with you, those results, and just to let you know, what we still have access to is the prelim results, and so we're waiting for the official results. We'll also, we were predicting that at least two seats may go to a magisterial recount. I am not hearing anything really coming from the opposition regarding Central Kingston, but we'll still keep an eye out on that. We're still waiting for that seat there with in St. Mary, the updates on that one. So we'll definitely keep you posted. And again, if you don't see us come on right when everybody's popping, just understand that we tend to sit back with the data and we have other things doing because some people, I guess that is why they carry on like that, because this is their source of, and so we are going to ensure that you are aware of, what is happening and just share again data information with you as best as we can, and we just keep it going from there. Let me just quickly look in the chat here, and well, I'm going to look for Mr. Anova. I'm going to look for that video. I'm going to look. I can't do it now because I am on the live. So I'm going to look for that and perhaps, see if we can get an audio to play in our live. So I'm going to look for that video or written, whatever. I'm going to look for it. Okay, you're saying 61 of 63 constituencies were officially counted. Okay. All right, thanks for sharing. So guys, we need 5 more people, it look like, to get to 100 likes. And guys, I know some of you come and you're expecting to hear a particular thing. We're not disputing what you have. We're just sharing the information, the data as best as we can. Solid information. So these statistics or the data is from the ECJ that we have shared with you in the context of the elections. so that you can have an understanding, of what is happening or what has happened. And, so what we're saying in the context of this question, based on the data, it is highly likely that Mr. Holness won the seat. All right. So that's what we're sharing. And so we will definitely wait on the official results to just come back to you guys and say, okay, this is the situation. And also listen to any further updates from Mr. Buchanan as well. And again, it's a process, and we'll definitely see how this process unfolds. But as of right now, this is the information that we have to share with you. And Ovi, I'm going to circle back over to you just to find out if you have any further updates. Rasta, welcome.
Yeah, I'm here not having any further updates, but just like to say thanks to everyone who has picked and stayed here with us and, contributed positively to this space. We really appreciate all that you do. And, make sure you get yourself locked in, make sure your post notification is on, and you can only do that if you subscribe so that we can continue this interesting debate about, life in Jamaica and about governance.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. So, guys, do you have any final comments there in the chat? Any final calls? I mean, quick calls has to be like a minute or less, or so 1 to 1.5 minute. And we'll take perhaps two of those. But any other final comments, kindly share in the chat. Again, we really, really appreciate, all your support. We thank you for the most part, and we need to continue to get it to 100% for keeping it real and respectful. All right, because we learn so much from each other. There is so much richness in diversity. So we want you to understand that we don't always share the same views, and that is totally okay, but we can still listen and we can still be respectful. All right, so it's not just my voice or Ovi's voice, it's voices in education. And so that is something that we want to, be able to be in this space where we can have real conversations in respectful ways. That is definitely important to us. So, on that note, I want to encourage you to hit the like button. Do not leave without doing that, and the subscription button. And if you have hit the subscription button, you need to turn on your post notifications. So tap the bell, select all so that you do not miss any updates from this channel. That is definitely important. So once we're going live, you'll get that notification and you'll be informed, and you can definitely join us for these live conversations. And I'm looking in the chat here. And Winston is saying, okay, you do hope Mr. Holness runs for another term, for term loading. All right, I guess perhaps we need to have that conversation in the context of the leaders before any updates, if it is that we're going to make some assumptions. I know that I have said in the context of getting to this point that the election win will become a thing for either leader. So if either should have lost, and we now know that Mr. Golding lost, it's going to cause some introspection. And I guess we can talk about that in the context of leadership and what's to come next for sure. And yeah, so that's about what we have to share with you guys. So we really hope that, you'll understand our side. And thanks to all the people who have called in, sharing their side. We really appreciate that, and, definitely understand the different points that have been raised in this, good conversation this evening or this morning, depending on where you're tuned in from. So, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate the love and the support. And remember, it's time for us to move on together as a nation. And the elections are done. Democracy had its time, did its thing. And as one caller said, the process is there. So if there are questions, if there are going to be magisterial recounts, let's allow the process to take its course. Let the process run its course, and let us not add fuel to fire, guys. It's gonna blaze, and that's not what we want, because when we go live, this is something that can be accessed by anyone, anywhere, right? And so we don't want to be spreading information that is not true or information that we cannot substantiate, right? And so even if you're putting out a particular theory, then at least have something to support the possibility of that claim or that position that you're taking, because it's not a good look when we're just making some claims and we're not able to support it logically with some information, with some data. That is definitely important. And that is why here we try to make you or understand the process, the political process, because we have gotten information from people that didn't know that these things like electoral divisions. And so when we go to the results, even though we're predicting, we're also educating, just showing you, trends and the different electoral divisions and all of that. So we really want to thank you for, just being here with us and listening to us. And we are happy to listen to you guys too. And Mr. over there is saying thank you and good evening. Thank you too, Winston. Fantastic blessings. Garmel. And and Garmel is saying in order for any foul play to occur in the polling station, there got to be a sellout like cargo. Now sellout my friending, right? And that's what I'm saying too. It's really difficult. Just from my experience, just observing general elections in Jamaica, it's not easy. You would have to have, and then I don't know how it's going to happen that way. It means that the indoor agents that you have selected, they're perhaps on the other side, and you thought otherwise. I don't know, but it's gonna be really difficult to have that. And I think if that's the case, as I shared earlier, in the context of the counting and the number, then it's there's nothing really to be bothered about in that context, right? But if there are other irregularities, then as I say, the most I can say, if for example ballots are being rejected or perhaps being accepted that the both sides are in dispute with, then I can understand that. But other than that, to say that we're going to sit and it's hard for that to happen given how the process works. So it's good sometimes when you understand the process, and that is why we encourage people to go and vote, because when you go and vote too, you kind of see how the process works. Because if you have never voted, then I can understand why you perhaps would have certain views, because you're just hearing things and you don't really know the process works. So, yeah, if you have voted, you perhaps, maybe you don't know who these people are, but sometimes what they'll have on like a green shirt or something, but they can't have any like political symbols based on my understanding. And that's from my little observation. And so but you'll see, you go, you have the presiding officer, the polling clerk, and all those things. And so it's good to go and see what the process is about. Go and vote, understand the process. And perhaps some things perhaps would not have been said if we kind of understand the process. We can say, oh, but this and this in place, so we're not supposed to have this and this. So if this happen, it means that the PMP or the JLP system that was in place, as the Garmel said, just sell out, sold out. Yeah. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much. The word is love. Love each other. Whether you're green or orange, it doesn't matter. All right, we just need to stand proud on that black, green, and gold, and remember, know that Jamaica needs all of us, and we all need each other. So let's just continue to be there for each other, and let's just move on, and let's just work. And if it is that you feel so strongly about your party, and I understand, guys, I understand, then continue the work or build on whatever foundation that you have now. And you know what, this election is definitely telling us that gone are the days when MPs just show up and they don't do anything. We need work, and we need people to work, and the people, they need representation, and they are going to vote on that for the most part. And so we want to ensure that if it is that you want to, continue with the work that you're doing for whichever party, then it means that you don't stop and wait until election time again before you start spruce up things. We just need to continue with the work so that people can see your work, and based on the party's work, then, hopefully the votes will come in that regard. Yeah, but that's it, guys, for this conversation. We're going to sign out of this one with some music. Again, thank you so, so much. Blessings and love. And, we really appreciate all the support. And I see elements coming in there with the Jamaican flag. And that is it. It's Jamaica land we love. Blessings and love, everyone. Ensure that you like, turn on your post notification. Well, you have to hit that subscription button first, and let us just continue to grow stronger together. Thank you so much to everyone who shared in the chat, to everyone who called, to all the silent supporters, listeners. Really appreciate you being here with us. Until next time, we'll see you in the next live. Blessings and love. Take care, everyone.